yesterday we have been hearing a lot about Omnichannel, right? Now, actually, when we are in the marketing, these are the two terms you'll be hearing very commonly: multi-channel and omnichannel, right? Now, omnichannel we have been hearing over the course of last 2 days. Now, what is multi-channel? And it's actually depicted in the diagram. And if you see in the diagram, it actually looks very similar, except for a little octopus shape over here and a little spider shape over there, right? There's no other difference. But if you actually think a little bit more, what is multi-channel? It is more about how a particular company can increase its reach to the end users, right? And it doesn't think a lot about the customers. So if you see, the customers are not at the center over here. So it's more about how well I can increase the reach towards my customers. You will be able to let through an example. So have you seen those kind of pamphlets people put at the end of the auto rickshaws, saying that okay, 20% discount going on in so-and-so bazaar, right? And you'll be flooded with this kind of SMSs saying that okay, you go to this particular bazaar on, let's say, over the weekend, and you'll be getting 10% discount, right? So they don't personalize. It is more about using whatever channels I can get, and I will be able to increase my reach. On the contrary, omnichannel marketing is more about being more customer focused. I don't want to use all the channels. No. I want to focus on some of the channels where the efficacy is more, right? And that's what makes omnichannel marketing so much better in today's world. Because, look, to be honest, we all get so many kind of communications from different companies, right, over the course of the day. Now, how we can actually make sure that users actually see your communication and they're responding to it. That's what we ultimately want to do, right? Not just flooding the user with too many communications, correct? So, but then it raises a very important question, which is, do customers actually expect omnichannel marketing, or do they want more of multi-channel marketing? Now, just to give 4 key reasons over here. Today, customers are very intelligent, right? We all know that. So they are knowledgeable. They know what is exactly a kind of a blanket communication versus what is a personalized communication. So they know that. Now, that's why it is very much effective for us to be sure that we actually put the right form of communication in front of the users. Also, our main intent, as I was saying, is to actually increase or catch the eyeballs, and not just throw out something randomly to a user, right, or to a consumer. So it makes more sense to actually make sure that we are able to put the right kind of ads in front of the users and in the right channel, that too, right? So, and moving to the third reason, consumers expect to be taken to the right product and services and not be flooded with a lot of ads. I can understand that a little bit better because I see my 2-year-old. When she watches YouTube, she knows how to skip the ads, right? She knows what is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 coming up, and then the skip ads will come up, and she knows when to click on that. Even she knows, and she gets very irritated when it's actually not allowing her to skip. She'll start crying. So think from the consumer's perspective as well. So they will have the similar kind of a mentality. They want to go right to the products to see the kind of solution that they're looking for. And instead, if you flutter with a lot of communication, a lot of ads, understand their situation. They might just close the browser, go to a different window, and start seeing or getting the same products and services from somewhere else. Because there's so many options for them, right? And obviously the instant gratification part. Because let's say I have taken or I've seen your communication. What is the CTA? Right? There has to be a proper CTA defined over there, which gives the user or the consumer exactly the thing that he or she is looking for. Correct? So only then we can push the particular consumer or user in the user journey ahead. So I'm sorry, I'll be using some cards because I didn't really have much time to prepare. So talking a little bit about AVP weddings. Now, for those of you, actually, if I go over here, how many in the audience are married? Okay, quite a few. So, and remaining are unmarried. So I see a good target group because AVP weddings is actually it's actually a matchmaking kind of a platform, digital platform, where potential brides and grooms come, they find the right matches for themselves, right? It's actually backed by AVP Group, so AVP news you would have all heard about, right? So it's actually the same parent company. Started in 2016 and primarily focusing on West Bengal, Maharashtra, parts of Gujarat, right? Now, before talking about AP weddings, I'll quickly go through the phases of marriage, not like how marriage has evolved over the years. Now, very old days, marriages used to be very much, the entire decision-making process was to be done by the parents, right? So basically, once a guy or a girl attain the age of marriage, so what will happen is that their parents will immediately start pushing them for marriage. They will ask their relatives that, hey, look, send me the profiles, and they'll be sending them, let's say, 5 or 6 photos. And uske piche, there'll be bullet points, right? Or with about the bio, education, ye hai, age, ye hai, that's how. And then they'll be doing the shortlisting, right? Now, once that shortlisting happens, it will be passed on to the boy or the girl, and then they'll be doing the second round of shortlisting. Uske baad agar kuch bachta hai, they'll be doing the interaction part. Correct. Now let's fast forward and come to, let's say, 2016, 2015, right? So that time, online matrimony became popular in India. A lot of profiles that were created by the self, like the actual boy or the girl, right? Difference is that they used to be operated by parents still. So the main people who were operating those accounts, even the phone numbers that were given on those accounts, those were the parents, right? So if you call up one such guy or girl, it will be that person's parent who will be picking up the call, right? In 2019-20, we are seeing a lot of difference. Now we are seeing that around 70% is actually created by self, operated by self. By self, I mean the actual boy or the girl, potential bride or groom, and around 20-30% will be done by the parents, right? So that is the kind of difference we are seeing today, right? Now, when ABP Wedding started in 2016, we actually took a hybrid approach. By that I mean that we obviously had a digital platform, we had a site and an app, but at the same time we also had a lot of retail outlets in West Bengal. Now you might be thinking why? Because as I was saying, 20-30% were still operated by parents, right, at that point. Now, if you think about the persona, imagine a 45 to 60-year-old, not very tech savvy. They would want a lot of in-person communications or conversations rather than getting all these communications directly through SMS or through other communication channels, right? So they would like to visit the retail outlets and have that in-person touch. So we had to cater to them as well. Fine, but then what we also realized is that the remaining 60 to 70%, they were not having enough engagement on the platform, right? So we started engaging them through some communication like SMS, emails. We built some enhanced solutions for that. Problem is that some of these solutions were not connected. They were running in silos. And yesterday we saw that what happens when communication strategy is done in silos, right? There can be a lot of like double messages going, inappropriate messages going, like customers already purchased, still I'm sending them some promotions or something else, right? So that can happen. And two, it was not action-driven, user action-driven, meaning that it was all blanket communication that was going out at that time. So imagine if I'm a user, I am told that, hey, look, so many new profiles added in your area, why don't you go and visit the platform? I will obviously visit the first time when I see that message, right? Now, when I go to the platform, I see that, hey, there are no profiles. I don't find any relevant profiles. So the next time I see that same kind of communication, I'll just ignore it. Correct. Now, that's why we took a step back. We actually thought that this entire strategy has to be revisited. And that's when we thought that there are two primary challenges that we were facing right at that point. One was that the data or the communication that we were sending out, those are not personalized at all, right? And the kind of, we were formulating the analytics over there. We were not at that particular stage to do all those analytics by ourselves. So we needed a CDP, right, which can actually do that for us. And that's when we actually started using WebEngage to actually run some of our user journeys as well as use their different channels, the multi-channels, which actually increased our reach, right? So I'll just skip this particular slide. Now, user journeys, how is it used in ABP weddings? So it's used in primarily 4 ways. One is to improve the trust of the platform, right? Second is to drive the user engagement, and obviously to increase the conversions and increase the revenue. Then I'll come to each one of them in a while. Coming to trust. Now, among here, how many of you have watched Tinder Swindler? on Netflix. Okay, fair amount. Now, that is not something which happens only on dating apps, FYI. It happens on matrimonial apps as well. Okay, and now in India, it has been happening, like it is becoming a very common incident these days, probably in the last 3-4 years. So basically, trust is an important factor because look, marriage is an important phase in everyone's life. So if I'm a user, I go onto the platform and I see that, hey, look, this other user is having this education details or this employment details and this family background and probably the photo as well, right? How can I trust the platform to say that this is actually the correct information? If just because it's put on a platform doesn't mean it is correct, right? So it can be a fake profile, and we're seeing a lot of fake profiles these days on the dating apps, matrimony apps, right? So one of the important things we wanted to do is that improve the trust of the platform so that users have the confidence. Now, how we do it on eVentures, we actually ask our users to supply us with some information like POIs, proof of identities, or employment proofs, right? So, however, one of the biggest challenge we have faced is that in the Indian context, why will people give you POIs or any other kind of documents? They say, I won't provide you this kind of documents, right? So, one thing we have done is that we have used user journeys to ensure that people are incentivized or motivated to actually provide us this kind of information. So one, we have created some incentive programs for them that if you provide us with this kind of details, we'll be providing you with certain paid features. Let's say chat or contact. So I'll be providing you with some this kind of paid features. Now again, it cannot be a kind of a siloed kind of communication. Obviously, let's say if I'm a user, I like another person on the platform and I send an interest. And as soon as I'm trying to send an interest, there is a pop-up coming up saying that, hey, look, you like this profile, but to send an interest, supply us with this information. Now, if I'm a serious user, I would be very much inclined to providing all this 2-3 information, right? What is the harm if I'm quite serious about marriage, right? And actually, we have seen that this kind of user journeys have improved the profile validated or the validated profiles on a platform by 40 to 50%, and over a course of 1 year, which is a great improvement for the platform actually. Coming to the engagement part. Now, old days, things were so simple, right? So a boy and girl, like after this initial family discussions were done, a boy and girl will meet and 2-3 discussions done, and then probably they will be sent to marry. Simple, right? Now things have changed. Sorry. So with Facebook coming into the picture, with let's say number of dating apps coming into the picture, and a lot of this kind of other e-commerce apps coming into the picture, people look for options. So we always fear that there might be something better or someone better than whatever I'm given, right? So that's where number of options had to be increased, right? Now, as a digital platform, what can we do or what did we do? So one, obviously to increase our user acquisition, meaning that we tried to bring in more profiles onto our platform, right? Through marketing, through lead gen, to ensure that there are enough number of profiles created on the platform and people have those kind of options on the platform itself, right? Two, we also ensure that they also know what are the different profiles added on the platform. So I'll give an example. So let's say if I'm a user and I get a personalized email saying that, hey, look, these are the different profiles available in your area and these are actually customized to my preferences or the preference I put on the platform, right? So if I see a kind of a customized email, right, and it is based on my preferences, obviously my CTR might increase, right? So that was one way. And apart from that, there were other kind of in-app notification that we used to send. For example, if I'm a user, I'm looking at a particular profile. Let's say I like that very much. I saw the photo. I saw the profile from the beginning to the end, and still I'm not taking any actions, right? Because probably I don't know, or probably I'm still thinking. Now, if at that point I see a notification or in-app notification coming up saying that, hey, look, probably you like this profile, why don't you send her an interest? If I really like the profile, probably I'll be inclined to send that interest, right? And it's a two-way kind of communication. As soon as I send an interest, this other person might also send it back to me, correct? So the engagement on the platform actually increases. And there are a lot of other kind of communication like push notification, which we keep on sending, because sometimes what happens is that users might actually become dormant, because let's say today I don't find enough profiles in my preference section, right? But since we are adding around 1,500 profiles daily, it might very well happen that 1 week down the line, there might be a lot of relevant profiles for me. So if you can actually send me some more profiles, or at least tell me that there are relevant profiles added in your area, I might be inclined to come on your platform and start interacting on the platform, right? So that's where the engagement actually increased. And we have seen around 10 to 15% increase based on the user journeys that we have created. Finally, the conversion part. Now, conversion, obviously, like I was telling about the retail outlets. So we have a kind of a split between the way revenue comes from the retail outlets as well as from the direct sales. And what I mean by direct sales is that user will not be having any other kind of assistance from another, let's say, eVentures employee. This person comes to the platform, sees the profiles, likes it, and buys a plan by himself or herself. That's a direct sales. So over the years, we are trying to actually increase that form of revenue, because that's how business becomes more scalable. Because look, today, if I want to increase my business by, let's say, X percentage, I cannot increase my retail outlets by so many times, right? So basically, there has to be a scalable way in which I can increase the revenue. And one form that we have found is that if I can increase the direct sales, then there is a definite impact or a definite kind of a scalability part to it. So how do we do some of the user journeys over there? And I'll again give you an example. Let's say now chat and contact, these are paid features on our platform, right? Now, if a user is interacting on the platform, he finds a particular user good, goes to the profile, sends an interest. Now, let's say the other person has also accepted the interest. Now, this person is trying to think that, okay, I have to take the next step. Now, for this person, the next step would be to communicate, probably through chat, right? So he clicks on the chat button, and as soon as he clicks on the chat button, given it's a paid feature, he's told that, hey, look, you are trying to chat with this person, but this is a paid feature. And actually, we have a discount going on of so much percentage at this point. So if I am really interested to chat, I would, and I saw a discounted price, I might actually have a higher inclination to buy that particular plan itself, right? Because it's not that one chat, I'll be able to chat with other 50 people, right? So the inclination actually increases. So as I was telling, the user journeys actually helped us in a lot of ways. Like we have seen around 20% increase in the engagement, overall engagement using user journeys. And these are only the three broad categories I just mentioned where we use user journeys. There are a lot other places where user journeys are used in eVentures. Now, coming to push notifications and app. Now, today, app is we are all in the app economy, and right, and you will see that most of the businesses today use apps, except for some of the businesses like which are very seasonal, like for example, clear tax, right? You file your tax only once a year. Why do you need an app for that, right? So you don't need an app in those particular cases. But most of the other apps where there are a lot of repeat customers, they will typically have an app, right? So now in app, push notification becomes one of the very important kind of communication channel. But you need to understand the 5 things before you create a push communication or push notification strategy. So first of all, why is it relevant? So let me ask you one question. Have you ever received an OTP over push? No? Do you know why? Yeah. Sorry? Yep, that is one. Also, do you know that it's very easy? Because look, it's not the only OTP push that you have gotten at that point. There might be other push messages that you have gotten, and probably if I am seeing the other notifications first, and I'm so irritated that I'll just clear it off. Right? The OTP is gone. I'll probably have to go through that process again. Correct? Instead, a SMS is a much better way in which an OTP can be sent. So to first understand why is it relevant? Why do you need to send up that particular communication using a push? And two, what is the impact it creates? Meaning that if, let's say, push is sent, what is the next step that the user can take, right? What is the CT over there? Third, very importantly, what is the message you are trying to send? Now, at eVentures, we had our own share of learnings. Initially, we were trying to test out the different communication strategies that we can send out through push. Sometimes it used to be very long, and people were not even able to read properly on some devices. So we have optimized that particular strategy in a way that now pushes are going in a much better way. So you have to understand like what is the communication you're sending, how long is it, right? And what kind of audiences you're trying to communicate to. So in WebEngage, like there is a very good feature whereby you can know like how many people are reachable on push or for that matter on SMS or emails. So that gives you a good understanding about where you can use push and which particular segments you can have need to use emails or SMS, right? And like I said, action. What do you want? What kind of action you want the users to take? The CTS basically. And last and most importantly, the success part. Because look, there might be many kind of testing or experiments that you might be doing in your organization. But what matters a lot is that how well you can also measure it, right? How you can measure the success. You have defined your KRS. Now you need to see like, is it actually impacting your KRS in a positive way, right? If not, there is always a chance to actually optimize it further. And that's what you always all should do. So when we talk about push plays an important part because a lot of like I'll give you an example from AB weddings. So sometimes, as I said, users become dormant, right? They didn't find enough profiles and they become dormant, and we need to like engage them, saying that hey, look, something is happening on the platform. Now, obviously, I cannot send this kind of a blanket message to everyone. I need to personalize it further, right? I need to find out the proper segment, see 1 week before what this guy was doing on the platform. And if this guy was, let's say, going through or has sent interest to, let's say, 5-10 people, and we see that similar profiles have been added in his or her area, we'll probably customize the message accordingly and say that, hey, look, there are so many profiles added in your area and similar to the people you have sent interest to. So that actually helps and actually helps to actually bring the user back onto the platform. Dormant user rate has gone down because we were able to bring them back onto the platform and increase their activity. So one of the important part is over here is that we need to cozy up to the users. And I was reading an article on McKinsey where they say that the closer you get to your consumers or users, the better is the chances of your user acquisition or the business growth. Because look, it is always important to understand like what your users are actually looking for, rather than just sending a blanket message. And today we are in a kind of an economy where people spend sparingly, or they will not even see your communication if it is not very much customized. So you need to understand which particular platform to actually use to send out this kind of communications, right? So basically, let's say today a lot of people use WhatsApp. So I'll probably be using WhatsApp. If let's say some people are more like the CTR for some people are more on emails. So for those people, I'll be sending out emails, right? So you need to not just see the reachability part, but also see the efficacy part. Obviously, grabbing the user attention instantly, that is very much important. And so basically, it should not be just pure text based, right? So earlier, initially, pushes used to come, which used to have only text. Now there has to be a lot of creatives that come in the push messages, which actually grabs your attention. Because a picture speaks of 1,000 words, right? So basically, why just send text? And obviously, to nudge the users in the right direction. Because look, you just don't want the user to go through the message and then close it out, right? You want them to actually take the next step. And for a certain company, it might be to see a particular product. For my case, it might be seeing a particular profile, right? Or send an interest. So it can be it will depend on your business basically. So three important ways in which we can actually optimize the kind of communication we send out. So one is obviously the profiling part, segmentation, right? Now in our case, I told you about two broad categories about the profiles which are created by self versus the ones which are operated by parents, right? So for me, let's say these are the two categories, broad categories. Now, obviously, I cannot stop at that point. I need to also see how these users have been interacting so far, right? What kind of profiles they have been seeing, how frequently they see on a day, given day, how many times they're logging onto the platform. So I need to profile based on many other factors, based on how the users are using the platform, right? Rather than just the demographic part. And once that is done, I need to customize the message also accordingly. So messages depend on multiple things. One is obviously what kind of message you want to put over there, what kind of creatives you want to put over there, and obviously like what is that you are trying to or what is that you're trying to make the user understand so that he can take the next step. Basically, the CTA part. And as we all know, the testing and optimizing part, because that is actually a never-ending loop. You always need to like start a campaign, start a user journey, and then actually after a week or two, you actually test and optimize accordingly. So to cut through the clutter, and we have been talking about these 5 steps throughout the day, right? Even yesterday, and it's just categorized into 5 places. So one is obviously the segmentation part. Now, what I mean by that is that you have a user base. You need to understand which are the different kind of categories where you can actually send out a proper communication. Who will react better to a certain kind of communication, right? Rather than a blanket message. And obviously, one of the important parts on the segmentation is how well you are capturing the data on your platform, right? So unless and until you have the right data captured from the users, you would not be able to do a proper work over here, segmentation. And unless segmentation works properly, all the remaining steps actually might be faulty. So this entire part might get faulty. Then comes the messaging part, obviously the right message, the what, why, and when of message, like what message to send, why do I need to send this particular message, or why do I need to use a particular channel, and when do I need to nudge a particular user. Probably if let's say I'm using an app, so you would have seen that Swiggy does it really well. So when you are watching the IPL, right, people typically would not want to like get up from their couch or sofa, right? They would be very much engrossed in front of the television set. So at that point, Swiggy will tell you that, hey, look, you order from here or from there. And it's actually a good option for them because they are nudging the user at the right time. They're probably very hungry, right? And they want to eat something. Now, Swiggy gives them an option, hey, don't lift yourself up from your position. Instead, order from Swiggy, right? So basically, the when part of messaging is very much important. And that is what the timing also says, that you need to be mindful when you send this kind of notification to the users. And be mindful of the fact that you are not spamming. Because look, if you are spamming, it's as easy for the user to get you out of the phone into clicks, right, or into taps. So that's why you need to be very mindful that what is the kind of volume you're sending to the users. Cross-channel obviously is quite important because in today's economy, it is very much important to understand which users are on which platform or active on which platform, where they can be reached, what is the efficacy on each of the platforms, and send out the communication accordingly. And lastly, enhance. Enhance meaning that obviously measuring the campaigns and user journeys is an important part. And obviously, when I measure it, I can also have the option to optimize the journeys better, right? So that's where the messaging part or the enhancing part comes into the picture. So that brings me to the end of the slide. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Yeah, please.
So my question is you need to differentiate between users who are genuine and users who are probably fake, right? So what you need to understand is the intent of the customer. So how do you go about doing that? Because end of the day, what happens is if anyone else has a bad experience because of this, the platform is also going to be blamed, right? So how do you end up doing that? Because it's something not like an e-commerce product that you purchase the product, you don't like it, you return it back. Right, so it's wedding. So how do you go about doing it? Because you're also spending amount of large amount of money to acquire that customer also. If he's a fake customer, you spend that money, it just goes down the drain, right? So how do you differentiate that entire thing?
Actually, it's a very good question, and most of the matrimonial apps today, they are facing this challenge. Not just the matrimonial apps, even the dating apps, right? Lot of fake profiles, right? So photos are put for, let's say, another person, probably details are filled for another person. So these kind of things happen very often. So one thing we do is that we ask the users or encourage the users to supply with us with some of the proof of identities. Let's say I tell you, okay, there are 4 options that you have. You can either supply me with a PAN card or let's say passport or voter ID card. Likewise, there will be 4 or 5 options, and you can supply me with one of them, and that's the way I will be doing a kind of a photo match to understand whether you are the person and the picture is actually yours. And apart from that, your name, right? Your age. People actually put their age less or more, mostly less on the. I'll be able to understand all that from your POIs. Second, there are a lot of cases where employment details are faked, where people actually say that, hey, look, I am working with so and so MNC, whereas this guy is actually unemployed. So basically, there are ways in which we can get those kind of details as well, because obviously, when you're working with an organization, you have certain documents with you, right? So we actually ask the users to provide us with this information. Problem about here is that people are not always very much incentivized to give us or provide us with this information, because they'll think that, okay, it's a matrimonial site, why do I need to? It's not that I'm taking a loan from you, right? So they'll not be very much incentivized to provide us with this information. So in such cases, we run some incentive programs for them. We also nudge them at using the user journeys, saying that, hey, look, you are trying to do something on the platform. So why don't you supply me with this few information, and then you can go on your merry way, right? So that is one way. And why this question is also very much relevant is that it's not just about how much I'm spending on user acquisition. You think from the other person's point of view as well, the user point of view as well. So if, let's say, I'm a user, I am trying to find a good match for myself, and I, let's say, spend, let's say, on per profile, I say spend around 5-10 minutes. So if there are 40%, let's say, fake profiles, I'll be spending almost half the day, half of my time on the platform looking at fake profiles, which will totally be a lost case for this particular user. So from both sides, I think it makes a lot of sense to actually make sure the platform's trust is actually well maintained and it is reliable.